Welcome, everyone. Once again, my name is Alain Lefebvre, and I'm the manager of workforce programs for the Construction Association in Nova Scotia. I want to thank everyone joining us on this beautiful afternoon. I know inside in front of a computer may not be where everyone wants to be, but I'm really glad that a number of you are here with us. And a quick thank you as well to everyone who joined any of our earlier sessions and anyone who has reached out with any feedback. It's been really positive, and we certainly appreciate that. A quick thank you as well to all of our program partners for their continued support in promoting these sessions and certainly passing them along to their students and contacts as well. The purpose of these sessions, once again, is to allow anyone, I keep saying students and I keep saying young people, but really to allow anyone who's interested to explore a career in the construction industry and in the construction trades from the safety of their own homes or offices during this time. So we are really, really glad to be doing it. We're glad as well to be able to do it with folks who have the experience like our guest has today and all of our previous guests as well, and who can speak to the occupation and can speak to the industry, certainly coming from a place of experience. So we are very, very thrilled to be doing this. Some quick virtual housekeeping. I know I say this every session, but I'm going to repeat myself a bit there. The format of these sessions are question and answer. We, the Building Futures team, we have put a number of questions together. We also received some questions in advance. But again, I really want to encourage anyone who's out there, anyone who's watching, to send along any questions that you may have as well. Using the question and answer function at the bottom menu of your screen. We've been getting some great questions from people during these sessions, so please do continue to keep that up. I'll monitor that Q&A function so that no one's questions get missed, I should say. I will remind people as well that all of these sessions are also being recorded for kind of live, or I shouldn't say live, for on-demand viewing after the fact. So you can go to our website, which is www.buildingfutures.ca, or you can go to the Department of Education and Early Childhood Development's YouTube channel, and all of these sessions as recordings will exist there, and you can watch after the fact and learn about these careers as well. Lastly, I'll give a quick IT note. We've been very, very lucky so far through all these sessions to not run into any issues, but I would say it's only a matter of time before we do have one. If we run into something kind of mid-session, please, anyone watching, bear with us. We'll get back up and running as quickly as we can and try to do it as professionally as possible. So with all that said, I want to welcome our guest this afternoon. His name is Jason Joudrie. Jason is a superintendent and a Red Seal certified electrician who works for Black & McDonald Limited here in the HRM. Quick note on Black & McDonald Limited, a CANS member, obviously also a huge supporter of Building Futures for Youth, and a number of our other initiatives and programs that we do at CANS. So really happy to have you here with us today, Jason.
Yes, thanks for inviting me today.
Excellent. So where I'll start off, and this is where I usually start off, you are a Red Seal certified electrician, and we like to focus these sessions on the individual as well as the occupation. But to get us started, do you mind telling us, kind of in your words, what is an electrician? What does an electrician do?
So in my words, an electrician would be, we would install, maintain, repair, troubleshoot a variety of electrical systems, anywhere from residential, your home you live in, the commercial buildings you go to, schools, universities, airports, and then kind of the industrial environment, power plants, oil and gas, anything that has wiring and electricity in it, really.
Yeah, excellent. Can you tell us, and that's a great snapshot, I think, of the electrical trade. Can you tell us a little bit as well about Black & McDonald Limited, what Black & McDonald does, and what your current role there is?
Yeah, so I work for Black & McDonald. I've been here for 21 years. It's the company itself is going to turn about 100 years old next year, so that's exciting. Yeah. They're a multi-trade contractor, electricians, plumbers, pipe fitters, utility workers, welders, ironworkers, millwrights, anything kind of mechanical, electrical related. So a multi-trade company in the service industry, construction, utility, FMO. Yeah.
And I was going to mention actually that's a term that gets kind of thrown around a lot, especially when we're talking to a young person. We're talking about the industry and we're talking about the trades, but we'll often say the mechanical trades or or mechanical contractors. And again, can you give us just a little bit of insight again? And you kind of did already, but what does mechanical mean?
Mechanical would mean like plumbing or pipe fitting, the pipe trades, welding, metal fabrication, millwrighting, the setting of some of these large pieces of equipment that you would see in factories and different plants, anything like that. HVAC, ventilation.
Excellent. And what is your current role at Black McDonald?
So my current role is I'm a construction superintendent. Right now, I sort of mostly electrical, but some mechanical. I'll look after multiple teams of electricians, from the foreman right down to the workers to the apprentices. So I manage multiple projects at once and different teams of guys.
Interesting. Very interesting. One of kind of the first questions I always like to ask anyone who we're doing these interviews with is, because a lot of our audience are possibly students, are young people exploring different careers, trying to figure out, what's next for them. Thinking back to when you were that age, you were in high school, you were a young person, did you have an idea that you wanted to work in the construction sector or in the electrical trade?
I didn't really. I was originally thinking electrical engineering, so I kind of had that part of my career nailed down, electrical. But after I graduated from high school, I took a year off, and I actually started working for a small plumbing and heating company as a helper. So that kind of got me introduced to the trades a bit, because I would see, the ventilation guys and the electricians, and I got to talk to some electricians on some of those small jobs that I was on. And during that year, I applied for NSCC, and that's the way I went.
Ooh, very cool. So that's interesting. That experience as kind of a helper, a general laborer role, it really springboarded you a little bit. Oh, sorry. Did we lose you there for a sec, Jason?
Yeah. Okay, I'm back.
Oh, you're back. Perfect. There's that IT hiccup we've been waiting for.
Yeah, finally got one.
Excellent. So maybe let's jump in. You mentioned NSCC. So it sounds like you went through kind of a pre-apprenticeship program through the community college?
I did, yeah. So the year leading up to that, I went through their catalog, and electrical was my choice. So I worked for the heating and the plumbing outfit, and went to school the next year. I did the 1-year program at NSCC. It's a great year there, and once I graduated, I was offered to challenge the second year exam.
Okay.
So I came out as a second-year apprentice right away.
Oh, wow. Did you, is there anything about kind of that NSCC environment that, or even that whole process of pre-apprenticeship, is there anything that kind of stands out to you that you recall?
I did. I really enjoyed the program. I found in high school, like my math marks weren't that high. Yeah. But once I got to NSCC and I could see the reasoning for the math, I graduated as an honor student. So I really like the hands-on classroom training, the one-on-one with the teacher, and then your classmates, small environment. It was a good experience.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. That'd be an excellent thing for lots of students to hear who might currently be struggling through their math homework, that it, once you kind of focus on the direction you want to go, it becomes a little bit easier.
Yeah, all those equations, all the lettering, it definitely made sense.
Excellent. Got a really good picture, or I shouldn't say picture. I got a really good question coming in on the Q&A, Jason.
Sure.
And that question is that this person notices the wind turbine pic behind you. And they're curious what special challenges are involved working with those massive structures, and what tradespeople would be required on site for that kind of work.
So Black McDonald has been fortunate. They put up a majority of the windmills in the province in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. I guess the first one would be working at heights. Most of them are about 300 plus feet above the ground. So the initial erection of the turbine itself and the tower is done with a composite crew of millwrights and ironworkers,
Okay.
and with the rigging and the crane work. And then once it's built, that's when the electricians come in and they'll do all the wiring.
Okay, interesting. Very cool. I know you see some of those structures coming by you even on the highway. They're massive, massive structures, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a nice view from the top. I've been on the top of quite a few of them, and it's on a nice day. It's beautiful.
Excellent. Can you think back and maybe tell us a little bit, Jason, about your first position as a certified electrician?
First position. Yeah. So I wrote my exam on a Saturday for my red seal.
Okay.
Tuesday afternoon when I came home from work, I was still an apprentice, and the letter was in my mailbox that I passed. Okay. So Wednesday morning, I brought that letter in and showed all the guys, and right from then, I was sort of put into kind of a lead kind of journeyman role, and I think we were working at Owen's Brewery in Halifax, doing a major upgrade there. So
not a bad spot to end up on a warm summer day.
Yeah.
With that process as well, Jason, have you had apprentices working under you?
I've had quite a few over the years. I've had my red seal since I think 2002 or 2003. So I've worked with quite a few apprentices, and still am working with apprentices, but now I'm mentoring them. They have their own foreman or journeyman now, and we still see them coming through. So that's pretty fun to continue teaching some of the things I've learned. And
yeah,
now I'm teaching some of the apprentices I had, and they're teaching new apprentices. So it's coming right around.
So do you still have a number of, I guess, people working with or around you who would have been apprentices of yours at one time? So you've gotten to see kind of their whole career development?
Yep. I would say right now, probably 3 or 4 apprentices that I've helped bring up are now in foreman positions.
Interesting.
So they're doing well.
What in your experience would you say is the hardest part of the electrical trade?
The only hard thing I remember coming up through was once you started working, you seem to be working a lot of hours. I was already finished school and working when my friends were still in university, so they seemed to have more time on their hands. So I would be the one working late or working weekends or traveling and being away. I don't think there's anything too hard about the trade. There's a good support team around you. Sometimes it could be physically hard, pulling cables and things like that, but for the most part, it's pretty good.
Excellent. Very interesting. So that, what was the hardest part of the trade now? What's the best part of the trade for you?
Best part of the trade is the constant changing environment. One day you're on a windmill. As I mentioned earlier, today I was at a mine.
Yeah.
You're always meeting new people. You're always getting new stories. Technology is always changing. It's pretty good.
Excellent. I got another question coming in on the Q&A here. And that question is, do you work with or around a lot of older electricians who might be looking to retire or looking for a change, perhaps of getting out of the field into more, perhaps an office or a management position?
That's a great question. When I started, I was the youngest one in sort of group. Everyone probably had 20 years or more on me. Now, I find everyone coming through is very young, in their 20s, early 30s. So there's a lot of young people around.
Okay. And is that you find that's a good thing? It's bringing kind of a new energy into the.
You're bringing a new energy. It's changing the way we're doing things. It's exciting. You get to teach all these young people, the things that I've been taught, and it's pretty fun.
Excellent. So I guess kind of on that note, you've been doing it for 21 years. You've seen a lot of new young people come into the industry. How has the trade, I guess, how has it changed? How has it evolved in that time?
The biggest change would be information. It's at your fingertips now. When I started, I don't think most of the guys didn't even have cell phones. So what information is there whenever you need it? If you need a drawing or a schematic, it's right at your fingertips. The safety, huge change in safety. The quality of PPE that we're using on a daily basis. The tools, the cordless tools. Most things were corded when I started. So things like that. Mentioned again the younger workforce. When I joined, everyone was older. So
interesting. And I have a follow-up question actually on the Q&A to that younger workforce. And the question is, because now then there's so much younger people in and there's a lot of the older folks have moved out, are you seeing any kind of mentorship gap as far as being able to kind of teach and bring those young people on, bring them along in their careers?
It could be something that could come, but with all those young people, we have some people in their 30s that are very highly experienced now because they've been exposed.
Right.
They've been challenged and exposed more than they would have been before. So I don't think there'll be an issue there.
Excellent. Again, kind of sticking to the idea of, the industry changing and kind of evolving. And you mentioned safety, which I think is a huge one. And I'm glad that every person we've asked so far has brought that up when talking about how the trade and how the industry has changed. Another way that, we're certainly seeing the industry change and we're hoping to see it change even more is in and around the idea of diversity. And in that vein, what would you say to, let's say, a young lady or a young man coming from an Indigenous community in our province who is interested in a career in electrical?
If they have an interest, I definitely pursue it. I can speak from experience. I've worked with a lot of young women so far in the trade. We have not just electrical, but here at McDonald, we have women that are in the leadership role as electricians and HVAC technicians. And no, I can't see it being an issue at all. The more, the merrier.
Yeah. Excellent. Now, flipping things a little bit to the role that you're in now as a construction superintendent, how do you feel that your experience as an electrician, as a tradesperson, prepared you to kind of move into more of a construction management role?
I think, especially just being with mostly one company the whole time, starting as an apprentice and moving on to a journeyman and a foreman and a superintendent, you just kind of naturally take that leadership role and take on more responsibilities and duties. And before you know it, you wake up one day and you're kind of there. But I think that's all it is. Managing people and having good people around you, and it makes it easy.
Okay. Put you on the spot a bit. Of all those roles, electrician, foreman, superintendent, which one do you enjoy the most?
I do still enjoy doing electrical work, and I still do work on the tools now. So it's nice to get in your truck, grab your tool bag, and kind of go and forget about the cell phone. It makes a good day when you can build something and stand back at the end of the day and look at what you accomplished, for sure.
Now that skill set, obviously, that you have as an electrician, has that kind of paid off for you at home and your personal life as well? And I know I'm personally am probably the least handy person around, so a light bulb needs to be changed in my house, and I gotta get on Kijiji and find someone to do it. are you able to, do you find you're able to apply that, you know, in kind of your day-to-day life?
Oh, definitely. I would say be prepared for lots of phone calls from family and friends for sure. Once they know an electrician, they'll find something for you to do for sure.
Yeah, that's right. It's like owning a truck. You better be ready to help people move.
Exactly.
I've got a great question, another great questioning coming from the Q&A, Jason. And that question is, what would you say is the biggest difference between kind of the residential and the commercial side of the electrical trade?
Um, the biggest difference would be the types of material you would use. It's totally different. You know, you have a house is built out of wood, mostly wood construction. Commercial is steel and concrete. Uh, Learning the residential part of the trade is definitely a great start
Okay.
because everything sort of builds off of that. The basics are in the residential home, so
Yeah.
it's definitely good to build off of that.
Okay, interesting. So, you know, we've talked a little bit. We've mentioned the salt mine. We've talked about the windmills. Um, but you said you know something about you know being able to kind of see a finished product that you've done that you've worked on. Are there any projects, any specific project that kind of stands out to you that you would have played a role in?
There's quite a few. I don't know if I have one favorite, but I can rhyme off of a few that I've been involved in. Wind turbines, of course, behind me there. I worked on a hospital and a resort down in Bermuda. I worked on a brand new power plant, um, oil and gas industry here on the East Coast, Alberta, Vancouver. Um, I've been up in the high Arctic on a water pipeline.
Oh wow.
I've been on the offshore industry, airports, quite a bit of airport work. So
I,
lot of interesting stuff out there.
Yeah, that's interesting because one of the areas that comes, or you know, one of the things that comes up quite a bit when we're talking to young people or we're promoting careers in the trades is, you know, the idea of being able to be mobile from the perspective, not necessarily of driving to the site, but be mobile from the perspective of, you know, being able to go work in the Arctic or be able to go to, you know, Bermuda or other places. Obviously, you have the ability and the willingness to be mobile. Do you feel that's helped your career?
I think it's helped my career. I haven't, you know, I've turned down some travel opportunities that you know I didn't want to, but you know I have a family now at home, and you can't always go. But if you can be mobile at a young age and do some traveling and get some good experiences when you're young, it's only going to benefit you for sure.
Excellent. Got a couple questions in, some great questions on the Q&A. I've got two here. The first one is, can you think of the most challenging project you worked on? And would it have been more challenging because you were a young apprentice just learning or as a journey person running a job? Maybe we'll just focus on the first part, most challenging job that you can recall working on.
The most challenging one for me that comes right to mind is the airport, the international airport here in Halifax.
Okay.
Tore out the whole baggage handling system and replaced it while the airport was up and running.
Oh.
So it took about a year to do it. Upwards of 50 to 60 tradespeople at a time working around the clock in a working airport was very challenging.
I can imagine some interesting hours attached to that, I bet.
Yeah, long hours.
Yeah. Another question coming in, and this is a good one that I usually ask, but I actually kind of skipped it over. Again, when we're promoting careers in the trades to young people, we like to talk about the benefits, and you know, and that's kind of a total benefits package, but a big part of that being salary. Without by any means putting a dollar sign on it, you know, in your experience, how does the salary of a journey person electrician compare to the salary of, let's say, other common occupations like a teacher or a police officer or a firefighter, for example?
Yeah, the salary is very comparable. It's kind of one of those industries trades it's really you can kind of go where you want. You know, the residential industry is a bit a bit lower, and then commercial, industrial, you start to move up a bit. And then when you travel on some of these larger sort of specialized projects,
Yeah.
you're well above average.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Another interesting question coming in from the Q&A. Obviously, as an electrician, have you ever been electrocuted?
I've had a shock, but I haven't been electrocuted.
Okay, interesting. How jarring was that?
Just a small tingle. Nothing. I've been fortunate. Right now we have lots of PPE and safety procedures, lockout, tagout, hot gloves, 3-point testing, to sort of prevent all that stuff. It is a danger, but it can happen. But there's things we can put in place to prevent that.
Excellent. Again, going back to kind of the theme of now you're a superintendent, now you're supervising, you're mentoring younger electricians, you're working with in and around other tradespeople. What kind of qualities now that you're in that spot do you look for from a young tradesperson or a young apprentice?
Yeah, so kind of first off, want someone that's pretty eager, wants to be a team member, somebody that is really interested in what they're doing, someone that wants to be here, wants to learn, has a lot of questions, someone that always wants to know how something works.
Okay.
I find with the younger people, the ones that are asking why they want to know why everything is the way it is, those kids do really well. I think that's it.
Yeah, excellent. Another question coming in over the Q&A, and the question is, what advice would you have for a high school student who is looking for part-time work while they're still in school? Does Black & McDonald ever hire youth prior to finishing high school as helpers or perhaps even youth apprentices? And I should add, opportunities outside of the ones like Building Futures for Youth, which you guys are very supportive of.
Right. So right now we're involved with Building Futures for Youth. So that's a summertime position. We've had some of those kids help us out after hours, weekends, and even if they wanted to extend their stay a little bit, if school permitted that, we've done that for them. Don't know of any other. It's kind of hard part-time work and construction work,
Yeah.
but I think that's the only real way to do it right now. Just through building for youth.
If you had a young person who was interested in exploring a career in electrical, and for whatever reason the circumstances didn't allow them to participate in a co-op or a Building Futures for Youth program, how would you encourage that young person in going about learning more about the electrical trade?
Well, they could definitely go online, and like any kids could come in and give us a call, and we could talk to them, we could show them some things, anything like that, really.
Yeah. Excellent. More coming in. The Q&A is active today. That's fantastic. Perfect. They were just saying that was a great answer, and I think it was as well. And we're getting about 2:35, and I certainly want to be respectful of your time, Jason. The last question that I usually like to ask anyone during these sessions is, can you think of any funny, strange stories or anything from the industry that might be kind of funny that stands out to you?
I don't know if I have one in particular. I will tell you that you will meet a lot of interesting people. I've met a lot of interesting people from all over the world, Canada, North America, that you will work with on some of these projects, and there will be a lot of funny stories that you will share for the rest of your life for sure.
Yeah.
I can tell you, on the way to work in Bermuda one morning on my scooter, I almost hit a chicken and went off the road. My tool bag was on the back of the scooter, and I survived that one. Working in the Arctic, we had to have someone watch out for polar bears. That was on our hazard assessment that day, polar bear watch. So there's all kinds of little things.
Yeah, you wouldn't see that on too many hazard assessments. That's pretty good. I was part of a group putting together kind of a template for a hazard assessment a few months back, and polar bear was certainly not included in that.
Yeah, You will have these little stories that will stick with you for the rest of your life. There's a lot of good people up there.
Excellent. I do have another good question coming in over the Q&A.
Sure.
It's a great question. If you could go back to high school and think of the ways math classes were taught then, do you think they could be taught in a way that's a little bit more relatable now as far as careers in the trades that would have attracted, a young person like yourself at the time, would have maybe been a bit more engaged?
I think so, because like I mentioned earlier, the math that I did at NSCC, there was a problem and I could figure out a solution for it. It was more relatable. I was interested in it. I wanted to be able to come up with the answer. And in electrical, you do a lot of troubleshooting.
Yeah.
So definitely, if they change that format a little bit, it might get some kids that are, not that interested, really good at math.
Perfect. We'll get you into all the math classes in Nova Scotia once the kids are back in school.
Yeah, that's right.
That's excellent. Like I said, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, Jason. I want to be certainly respectful of that. And it is a beautiful afternoon out there, and I don't think everyone wants to be stuck in front of a computer for too much longer. But I really do want to thank you, Jason, for joining us and for doing this today. And I said this last week, but I'll say it again. It's to a person every time we do one of these sessions, it's really obvious, and it comes across the passion that the people in this industry and certainly people in the trades have for the work that they do. And that certainly came out in listening to your answers here today.
Yeah, I want to thank you for inviting me, and I always enjoy participating in everything with CANS.
Excellent. I appreciate your help, Jason. I also want to say thank you to Black and McDonald as well for allowing the time to do this afternoon. I want to add for anyone watching that if there are any other questions that you didn't get a chance to ask, or if something pops into your mind as you come away from this session today, and you want to ask it, by all means, please reach out to me. You can find my contact information at www.buildingfutures.ca, and I'll track Jason down and I'll connect with him, and I can get answers to any questions you may have. Also, again, another reminder that today's session is recorded and can be found either at, again, our website, buildingfutures.ca, or if you go to YouTube and search the Nova Scotia Department of Education and Early Childhood Development, their YouTube channel is hosting these videos as well. So again, I want to say thank you to Jason. I want to say thank you to everyone who attended virtually, and anyone who will watch this also after the fact on demand. Please keep an eye out for some information on next week's session. We'll be doing this again on the following Thursday. And really just everyone stay safe and all the best.